My fellow Zambians, I have decided to address the nation on a very important subject, namely the forthcoming general elections this August. Let me start by paying tribute to all our former presidents and all the leadership that we have seen govern and rule this country since independence. One thing is for sure and one thing is for certain. We have enjoyed relative political peace and we have enjoyed political independence. For this, we shall forever be indebted to all the freedom fighters and all the leaders that have stamped their authority on this country, Zambia. However, be that as it may, political independence without economic prosperity is useless. I say that with the greatest respect. I have therefore decided to address the nation on a subject I have titled, "When Zambians Prosper, Zambia prospers." When Zambians prosper, Zambia prospers. Our youth today are suffering from economic malaise, mainly due to three big problems which the current leadership is failing to solve. One, unemployment. Two, the cost of living is way beyond what any reasonable youth can manage. And thirdly, there is always poor youth representation in our political dispensation in this country. For this, I shall address the youths much later in this discourse. Recently, we have seen the death of Bill 10, which was a waste of resources, a waste of time for this nation, and which shouldn't have taken our nation backward with all the debates and resources that went into it. We have also seen a lot of debate on the eligibility of certain individuals who still want to hold on to office. This, I want to declare once again, is a dead issue for me. There is no space for a third term for any president in this country. This we discussed and we buried with the coming of multipartism in 1991, reviewed in 1996, reviewed and amended in 2016. There can be no debate about this. So let's forget about these issues because it's political masquerading which won't help the nation. The forthcoming general elections will not be just about singing songs and dancing around and praising individuals we call leaders who have no vision, who have no plans and no strategies to solve our economic problems. We must begin to think outside the box as a nation. Therefore, today's topic cannot be overemphasized. When Zambians prosper, Zambia prospers. The prosperity of any nation is determined by the sum total of productivity and ability of each citizen or each family contributing to the nation's GDP. When citizens in a nation are able and capable to create productive wealth, then that nation becomes prosperous. When the average Zambian family has or is able to generate sufficient income to 1. Afford 3 square meals a day, 2. Own a decent home, 3. Have access to quality, affordable health care, 4. Be able to educate its children, and 5. Be able to have some savings so that they can invest into some little business or put aside some money for the future. Then and only then can we declare with confidence that Zambia is on the road to prosperity. Prosperous citizens are the foundation and building blocks for a prosperous nation. When the majority of Zambian citizens and families are not doing well financially, Zambia is not doing well as a nation. When the majority of Zambian citizens are being productive, creating wealth, and are financially doing well, Zambia is doing well and can be said to be prosperous. We must all learn and understand that wealth and prosperity is created by a nation's citizens and not by governments. This is why citizens make politicians rich and not the other way around. When government policies are formulated to assist citizens and families to create wealth, add value to such wealth, and grow the nation's potential, the more Zambia shall prosper. There cannot be a prosperous Zambia without prosperous citizens. Prosperous citizens are equal to a prosperous Zambian nation. It follows that the best contribution any Zambian can ever give to his nation is to become successful and prosperous in his or her field of choice, talent, enterprise, or vocation. The clear result is that the broadening of the tax base then becomes easier, and taxes and revenue will be collected by government from more citizens, making the nation even more prosperous. It goes without saying, conversely, that the best contribution any government can ever give to its citizens is to create the best enabling and talent-friendly environment to help each individual citizen to become successful in being productive and create wealth for the nation by contributing their maximum effort in their field of choice. Our nation today, more than ever before, needs dedicated, honest, hardworking, visionary leadership. But this, I must state, we must begin to interrogate the people that put themselves up for leadership. While it is true that none of us is perfect, many leadership and moral failures that our nation is suffering from can easily trace their roots to families failing or neglecting to inculcate the right values in their family members. We need fathers and mothers to reclaim their duties by mentoring, guiding, teaching, and controlling our modern households. We need to go back to basics. It is these same children, after all, that will become politicians, teachers, policemen and women, doctors, lawyers, footballers, musicians, taxi drivers, minibus drivers, traders, etc. tomorrow. Yet, if they become politicians, oftentimes they have the wrong moral fiber. It is they that become the biggest obstacles to the progress of the nation and the Zambian people at large. This happens when such politicians have power and authority, but do not care about the nation except themselves. Other times, it is because such politicians have no competence nor any desire to create the right environment for talented, educated, and more capable Zambians to thrive. Why is this so? It is simple. This is so because more often than not, such leaders get into positions not on merit, but because of corruption, nepotism, or just pure bribery. And sometimes just favoritism. Fellow Zambians, we are once again at the crossroads in need of real leadership. Real leadership that will properly identify and assess our nation's challenges. Real leadership that will engage the best minds and human resources available. Yes, real leadership that will formulate the best solutions for our nation. Real leadership that will implement solutions, create wealth, and create more jobs for Zambians. May I submit that the economy is not designed currently to prosper ordinary Zambians. May I submit that today we have embraced high levels of poverty and accepted that 6 in every 10 Zambians are poor along the line of rail, and 8 in every 10 Zambians are very poor in the rural areas. May I further submit that Zambians in general do not own their means of production. For this reason, I beg to submit that as a result of the foregoing, we have low levels of quality employment, which results in low wealth creation, which in turn entrenches poverty. Because of lack of visionary leadership, our poverty is passed on from generation to generation. Because of the lack of visionary leadership, no possible solutions are suggested or proposed. Because we have people in leadership who are professional pretenders in the art of politics, our poverty levels are now even more complicated. This is very sad. Fellow Zambians, it is time to change the game and change some players. Let us start by stopping the recycling of useless leaders. Leadership, I dare say, that will create policies, investment strategies, and economic environments that Zambians need to prosper is the leadership that we need. Let us demand for dedicated, selfless leaders that will drive an economic agenda for massive wealth investment, resulting in massive wealth production, ending in massive job creation to benefit Zambians. Let us demand an end to the story of only a few Zambians benefiting just because they are politically connected. Let us demand that all Zambians must be given a chance at prosperity as of right. Let us demand further that our leaders must be accountable over our national assets, our natural resources, and indeed our general welfare. And let us demand, lastly, respect and refuse to retire broke and tired. It is time to strongly suggest that our leaders must redesign the Zambian economic landscape to help Zambians create wealth and prosper the nation. After all, when Zambians prosper, Zambia prospers. Indeed, it is time to strongly suggest that borrowing is only a solution if the money borrowed is committed to create enough wealth to both repay the loan and come out of poverty, having created massive sustainable jobs. As every good student of economics will tell you, when you are faced with the problem of poverty, the best solution is to create wealth bigger than the problem. Yes, it is time to strongly suggest that it is time to realign our budget and target areas where our resources can be prioritized and invested so that our national wealth is placed at the disposal of Zambians in order for them to create wealth, thereby creating work and jobs for the Zambians. My fellow Zambians, I know this country. I have traveled the length and breadth of this country. I am tired of having fights with my feelings, my ideas, and my vision. It is time to implement the vision. We must begin with some low-hanging fruits in our economy. Our economy must begin to change from within instead of waiting for foreigners. For example, government procurement will always at least attract 20 to 30% of our national budget. It is my proposal that 80% of this procurement must always be targeted at Zambians generally. And out of this 80%, at least 50% of the procurement for the whole country must be targeted to the youths. Secondly, our agricultural policies must begin to be realigned. Agro suppliers must be paid on time. The price of fertilizer must come down. We must begin to look at different alternative sources of fertilizer. Agro suppliers must always have at least 80% of all the supplies in the agriculture sector. Zambians, that is. In the mining sector, the tax regime and procurement systems must be realigned. New investment laws must come into place and change the current status. Our power generation and production distribution must also be realigned. ZESCO will have to go through realignment. New investment is necessary in this area. In this area also, we must look at biodiesel production. New technologies are important. We must look at solar as a source of energy and must begin to create solar plants that are going to generate a minimum of 1,000 megawatts to be pumped into the national grid, at least in 6 areas of this country. Construction is another area. Infrastructure such as roads, bridges, clinics, schools are necessary for the delivery of health and social services. Those of us who were there will remember that Link Zambia 8000 was a big project that we wanted to put in place. But somewhere along the line, we lost direction. It is my proposal that we should go back to the drawing board and ensure that only priority economic important roads are prioritized. Let me give examples in the area of road construction. What happened to the Lundazi-Chipata road? Why haven't we done this road? What happened to the Mpika-Kasama road? Why haven't we done this road? Why haven't we completed the 70 kilometers of the Pedico Road connecting the Luapula province and the Copperbelt province? This is a very important economic road. Why haven't we done the Lusaka Copperbelt dual carriage road, which should have eased traffic and sped up the transportation of goods? Why haven't we done the Kawambwa, Mushota, Luwingu Road? These are roads which were on the link Zambia 8000. The Nakonde Serenge Road via Mpika is a very important road because we know that from the Nakonde border post, most of our goods come through the Dar es Salaam port. Why haven't we done this road? Completing the Katoba Chirundu Road via Chiawa has become a problem. This is just 98 kilometers. Most of the road is done. But somewhere near the Michael Sata Chilufya Bridge, just across the Kafue River, we haven't finished this road. What has happened to the bottom road? Why have we stopped this road? What has happened to the Sioma Shangombo Road? This is just 171 kilometers. Sioma and Shangombo lie in sand, and the road is difficult, if not impassable sometimes. We've been watching this road for years. What have we done to the Mongu Lokulu Road? The Mwandi Senanga Road via Sesheke is an important economic road because having done the Kazungula Bridge, we can come from Mwandi and avoid going through Livingstone and take this long route, but use the Western Province and cut through to Mongo, then Kaoma. There should have been also the Kaoma Kasempa Road, which takes that traffic easily into the Northwestern Province. What has happened to the Kaputa Mporokoso Road? There are no answers. The Chipata Vubwi Chadiza Road is still begging. This is 120 kilometers. We promised. What has happened to the Samfya Lubwe Kasaba Road? Chama Matumbo Road is yet to be completed. Mpika Mfuwe na Bwalya Road, this is 235 kilometers. We promised our people. What has happened? Mobilization was done. The Chiengi Mansa Road via Kashikishi, what has happened to this road? The upgrading of the Mwinilunga Jimbe Road, 107 kilometers. There was a flagging off of this road. What has happened? The upgrading of the Kaoma Kasempa Road. What has happened? The Mwinilunga Solwezi Road, 175 kilometers. These are very important economic roads. I mentioned some of them just to show you that some of us know what we intended to do in the original plan of Link Zambia 8000. This should have opened up the nation, and this should have given economic jobs to most of our youths. We have been failing. In addition, trading and manufacturing will have to be realigned. The legal regime will change in these areas. Immigration laws must change so that certain jobs will have to be retained for Zambians. Competition laws must also change so that Zambians are always given priority in trade and commerce. The transport and hospitality industries will also need some very big changes. Tax regimes will have to change. The immigration laws will have to change. The investment laws will have to change. The visa requirements will also have to change. These are low-hanging fruits which we can change with simple policies, and Zambians will begin to prosper. We must, as a people, look at industrialization in the medium and long term so that we create new jobs. This will mean value addition to all our local produce before we can think of anything to do with what we produce. The first right of refusal in every employment sector must be given to Zambians. This is the only way we can make Zambianization a reality. Our agricultural policies will run concurrently with our land audit reforms. We cannot have idle land lying around when we can do farming on such land. Equally, in view of our intended creation of production cities, we cannot have absentee landlords owning massive tracts of land, idle land, I must say, when the nation is in a hurry to industrialize and create jobs, and when residential homes for Zambians are in short supply. In the agricultural sector, just by way of policy, we must prioritize food processing. We must also prioritize research and development in the food industry to improve the quality of food, but also to value add to the food. This automatically will improve food security. Then we can also improve our exports in the food sector using our geographical comparative advantage, having 8 neighbors as a nation. This will increase our foreign exchange earnings without a doubt. The economy of this country must ultimately be in the hands of Zambians. The days of exploiting Zambians for cheap labor are over. The days of exploiting Zambia's natural resources without it reinvesting in Zambia and denying Zambians any social corporate responsibility by giving something back to the local community will have to be revisited. We must be clear and objective about Zambia's economy being reorganized, because we must understand that when the Zambian families begin to prosper, Zambia prospers. We have read and studied and know that neocolonialism is real. The truth is, we cannot claim to be free or independent if we do not control our economy. As a nation, we are ready to partner with investors. Foreign direct investment is welcome, but we are wiser now. We have experienced some very dangerous lessons which we do not intend to repeat in the future. So to the investors, I say, it is time to change the game and change the way we play with Zambia. You are welcome as investors, but the rules of engagement will have to be renegotiated. Zambia shall not prosper unless we take back control of our natural resources to the benefit of the Zambians. Every foreign investor is welcome, but they shall operate according to our rules and our laws. Zambia needs leadership, not politicking. Discipline plus jobs is equal to prosperity, and only Zambians can make this nation prosper. Because when Zambians prosper, Zambia prospers. Please understand that. Let me conclude my discussion by addressing the elephant in the room, our youths. Somewhere I read that you must dig a well before you are thirsty. This means advanced planning. Somewhere I read that even though you know 1,000 things, ask the man who knows one thing. Be objective. Somewhere I read that some men go through a forest and see no firewood. Learn to ask. Woman kuikwatila bufile bwafumapo. One finger cannot pick a lice. Umunu omota utalanda. Somewhere I read that each man becomes the sum total of how he manages his time and the changes he goes through. It's called experience. When the dreams and aspirations of our Zambian youths are blown left, right, and center, like wind-blown refugees in their own country, we must stop and acknowledge that we have a leadership crisis. When the youth's voices and talents are drowned by threats and violence, we must stop and acknowledge that we have a leadership crisis. When our youth's critical mass of 82% of the population of Zambia are ignored, abused, and insulted by the politicians, we must stop and acknowledge that we do have a leadership crisis. When our youths are not allowed to be ambitious, express their ideas freely, and define themselves, and they are denied an ear to listen to them, we must definitely stop and acknowledge that we do have a leadership crisis. When our youths are intimidated into submission and cannot speak freely about how they feel, we must stop and accept that we do have a leadership crisis. When our youths can get educated or drop out of school and see no opportunities to develop their talents, see no jobs, see no economic future, we must accept that we do have a leadership crisis. When our young boys and girls hear no economic plans from their leaders and begin to feel left behind on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of the abundant natural resources our nation has, we must stop and acknowledge that we do have a leadership crisis. Fellow Zambians, there are two fundamental misconceptions Zambian politicians continue to hold when it comes to our youth. Firstly, that the millions of our unemployed youths are a burden as opposed to being an asset. Secondly, that the education that we give our children is a cost rather than an investment. This kind of thinking is backward and must end now. It is easily forgotten that the youths have only one life, and this is the most important stage of their lives. Therefore, they cannot have it wasted by politicians who refuse to think or cannot think about the youth's future. The cry by the majority of our youths is for economic prosperity, economic independence, by being given economic opportunities, by being allowed to enjoy and use their political freedom to cultivate into their economic spheres of their lives and interests, the youths will be opening up their potential. But, my dear youths, listen to me and listen very carefully. You cannot demand first-class economic opportunities by using third-class thinking. Therefore, it is time to change the game and change some players. This is true. For democracy to thrive, economic discrimination must die. This is also true. If we continue on the path we're on today, 10 years from now, we may not be able to recover economically. Also, this is true. Potentially, our most energetic and productive age group of between 18 years old and 35, or 6.2 million Zambians of our population, are unemployed. Yet, this is an asset that we should be using to create wealth. This is also true. Currently, the ministries of labor, education or higher education, and the Ministry of Sport, Youth and Child Development have no clear coordinated strategic policies on how to create employment for our youths, both educated and uneducated, let alone those who can use their talents to create wealth and jobs. Let me address the youths directly. In realizing the strategic importance of our youths as an umbrella approach, I have resolved to pursue an agenda I am calling Every Youth in School or at Work. The aim of this agenda is simply this: every Zambian youth of school-going age gets the best training to ensure that he or she is equipped with enough knowledge, information, and wisdom to offer the country their best productivity. Equally, every Zambian youth of working age must be given an economic opportunity or be co-opted to create wealth for the nation by tapping into his or her talent or creative capability. To ensure that every youth in school or at work becomes a reality, the following non-expensive but practical steps will be taken. 1. Our primary to university education curriculum will have to be modified so as to prepare our youths to be more prepared to face the future practically than academically. Secondly, that we will create economic, financial, and infrastructure capacity to absorb all grade 12 school leavers into apprenticeship, practical trainings, vocational trainings under community, cooperative, or indeed school activities, so that they can express themselves in their fields of interest or talent. 3. Youths to be trained under this arrangement in areas such as carpentry, mechanics, plumbing, bricklaying, building, construction, etc., will be expected to repay their educational loans once they start working. Systems are already being planned around this. Number 4, we will partner with business and industries and build and increase sports and recreational infrastructure to tap into the various sporting and recreational talents that our youths possess, so that such talent is identified, developed, and trained at a very tender age, so that it becomes an economic generator of wealth and jobs for the nation. We will coordinate training curriculums between and amongst the ministries I've alluded to, so that our youths understand that they are an asset for the nation. A policy framework is being developed to train sport masters and sports teachers for the communities and the schools as I speak. A policy framework is to be developed to promote healthy competition in the areas of sports and recreation activities, as well as vocational apprenticeships in the schools, cooperatives, and the communities, including our churches. Where possible, school or community must have sports development policies with supporting infrastructure in sports and recreational vocation. The identification and development of youth talent must be prioritized both in the schools and communities, so that at an early age, the economic benefits of such talent can be developed and used for the benefit of the nation. After all, when Zambians prosper, Zambia prospers. We shall also implement the Triple M strategy and ensure that our youths in their training are mentored properly, given correct education and practical training, given access to money, and indeed given access to the market. Priority will be given to youths who are willing and able to take up agriculture as a business. More so, those who are willing to relocate and live on the new farming blocks to be created. We must remember, and I keep emphasizing, that when Zambians prosper, Zambia prospers. Broken down, this simply means that when the Zambian farmer prospers, Zambia prospers. When the taxi driver prospers, Zambia prospers. When the bus driver prospers, Zambia prospers. When the musician prospers, Zambia prospers. When the civil servant prospers, Zambia prospers. When the teacher prospers, Zambia prospers. When the police officers prosper, Zambia prospers. When the footballers prosper, Zambia prospers. When the marketeers prosper, Zambia prospers. When the students prosper, Zambia prospers. When the nurses and doctors prosper, Zambia prospers. When the traders and shopkeepers prosper, Zambia prospers. Eventually, when Zambians prosper, Zambia prospers. Fellow Zambians, my names are Kelvin Bwalya, and I am running for president. This coming general elections should be about the person with the foresight, the vision, and the plan to prosper this nation. I repeat, I am running on an economic platform. I thank you, and may God bless our country.